My Little Pony is owned by Hasbro Studios and DHX Media. Please support the official release. Some adult language may be in this video. Hello YouTube, please start playing with my bottom 5 of Season 7. These are the 5 episodes I really did not like in this season. I was going to do a bottom 10, but there wasn't really 10 episodes that I didn't like. This was a great season, but there were a few stinkers. Now, this is just my personal list, and if you want to get mad at me for it, that's your problem. But this is just something that pushed me the wrong way. Alright, we'll start with number 5. Fluttershy leans in. Now, don't get me wrong, I loved Fluttershy in this episode. Her assertiveness was great. Her determination to get her dream was perfect. What I found questionable in this episode was the conflict. Why exactly did the main 6 just pawn off to help onto these 3 idiots? And I know exactly why. Because they would not act like this. The main 6 would not ignore Fluttershy's vision and just do whatever the hell they want. And these so-called professionals, they just completely ignored Fluttershy and did the project their own way. Like, are you guys professionals or not? For that, and the fact that this is a dream Fluttershy has had forever that we never heard about once. I know some people claim the same thing about Alicorn Twilight, but I disagree. It was clear she was on a path to become a princess from the beginning. She got the tiara after all. But that's why I didn't like Fluttershy leans in. But it's not the worst of the season. Number 4 would be A Flurry of Emotions. In the most part, I actually did somewhat like this episode. I mainly liked Twilight's interactions with Flurry. Twilight was at her best here. She was adorable, she was so damn cute taking care of that kid. But there were several big plot holes in the episode that made it a little bit bad. For one, she just ran everywhere. If you're that far behind, teleport. We've seen you do it with 5 ponies. You can easily teleport to the bakery, to the school, and to the hospital. You could get there in 5 minutes. And whenever Twi is not thinking right, it never quite works out very well. And also, you know, I gotta bring up the point that a lot of people brought up. Bringing a baby into a room full of contagious children, it's not a very good idea. Even though I do think alicorns have a superior immune system. Because have you ever seen any of the princesses get sick? So this one wasn't a hated episode. It was just kind of blah with some great Twilight moments. Okay, number 3 would have to be Triple Threat. Now this episode had some great components to it. Having Thorax interact with Ember was good. Twilight and Starlight were there, but they were kind of dumbed down a little bit for this episode. They should have been pointing out to Spike, you know, what conflict? So Twi and Starlight were good in some parts, but in other parts they were acting pretty dumb. What ticked me off about this episode was the conflict. There was no reason to have a conflict. If they had mentioned that in the past the dragons and the changelings had crossed paths and fought, then the whole episode would have worked fine. But there was no reason to think that they would fight with each other. It was pointless. Spike had been doing so great the last couple seasons. In this episode, he just turned into a Spike at your service again. For that reason, I just don't like this episode. I do love that Ember and Thorax came to the conclusions on their own and helped each other, and then called Spike out for his bullshit. And that's another thing I had a problem with. The map called Spike to fix his own friendship problem. As I said in the Royal Problem Review, I had no problem with the map calling other ponies, or even Spike. But it called him to fix his own problem just to create another conflict in the episode. It was so stupid. For that, I just don't like this episode. Alright, number 2. Daring Dunn. Now, I went on a rant on this episode, and I also love the rant that Miss Antropony did on this episode. Because it's so stupid. Daring Do is gonna quit because there's one town in the far reaches of Equestria that thinks she's not a hero. So she's gonna quit saving people's lives because she got some bad press. Then she was never a hero to begin with. Which raises a question, maybe Daring actually isn't a hero. Maybe she's just a publicity seeker. She does these adventures just so she can sell her books. Now, it has been shown she actually does care for others. But she doesn't seem to be a very selfless hero. And she's been doing this for at least, 4 or 5 books, and has never learned what collateral damage is until now. What? How do you not know what collateral damage is? You studied literature according to Twilight in Season 4, so you know that story. Heroes create a lot of collateral damage. Now, is it wrong to feel bad about that? Of course not. You can make amends if you can, and at the end she did. She spent her money to repair the damages. But why didn't she do that in the first place, instead of retiring? I'm sorry if I'm going a little rant on this episode here. It really ticked me off. Not as much as the next one. The number one thing that ticked me off on this is Rainbow Dash being captured in the middle of the town square without putting up any kind of a fight whatsoever. She just sat there. She didn't fly away. She didn't scream for help until after she was tied up. And how exactly did she get tied up, scream for help, Daring and Pinkie saw them less than 50 feet away, and somehow they beat them to the pyramid because Daring had to go get her hat and coat. Your friend's being kidnapped. Screw the outfit. Go get her. And Southern Equestria knows Daring Do is real, but doesn't know A.K. Yearling exists because they don't import her books, which is really stupid. So you have a secret identity in the north that thinks Daring Do is fake, and in the south they know you're real but don't know you're A.K. Yearling. That defeats the whole purpose of a secret identity. Information does not just stay confined to one region. With the technology of Equestria, it may be possible, but it's completely unbelievable. And the no flying spell in the pyramid was really freaking stupid. The thing that really ticked me off was that stupid vents. They jumped into the pit with no reason to believe that they would survive. And somehow there's these magic steam vents that appear out of nowhere. Like Antropony pointed out in his video, they could have just walked around the side of the pit, jumped to the pedestal, untied Rainbow, jumped back. No threat. I know they were going for the whole hope thing, but it just seemed really out of character for Rainbow Dash in this episode. Pinkie was great in this episode. I loved Pinkie. She was supportive. Pinkie Pie was actually understanding personal space, telling Rainbow, we have to let her decide this. This is up to her. It's her life. I can't believe it was Pinkie Pie that did that. Her, of all ponies, supportive of personal space is just incredible. Sorry for the rant on that episode, but it's going to be nothing compared to this one. And number one, the number one worst episode of Season 7. This actually pissed me off. Honest Apple. This episode was just one giant cluster. For one, what the hell were you thinking, Rarity, getting Applejack to judge a fashion contest? I know she said she wanted a practical application, but come on. Twilight would have been a much better choice for that. She knows fashion somewhat, but she's a very practical mare. She only cares about practicality. Sure, she will her royal regalia because it's expected of her, but she doesn't, obsess with fashion. But Applejack doesn't give a damn about fashion. That is also another problem with this episode. Applejack was shown in Season 4 to understand fashion and how it operates. She just doesn't care about it. When she was Apple Jewel, it was clear she understands the basics of fashion. She got the outfit perfect, the makeup and everything, even the attitude, and she showed Rarity that she did respect her love of fashion. But in this episode, she's all like, fashion's ridiculous. I don't know why anyone messes with it. You guys are all freaking losers. And she grabs that...
You don't need feathers on your head. My little sister tried to add some flair to her hat, and guess what it got her? An extra hour of work picking apples off the ground.
Designer's hat that she spent hours putting feathers on and destroys it. It's one thing to critique someone's work, but to actually destroy it just because you're a vindictive bitch, that's another thing. They really killed Applejack in this episode. What the hell were they doing to Applejack here? I do like that they took her down a peg with that pony that only likes strawberries.
Well,
a lot of people don't like that they did that, but I do, because sometimes Applejack needs a good slap to the face.
But you actually bite into those tasteless
Although Rarity was
worm-filled things.
a little too smug about that. It's just as much her fault as Applejack's that this happened. And I think the thing that pissed me off the most in this episode is we went through all that. Applejack literally commits multiple acts of kidnapping, unlawful imprisonment, intimidation, and threats to get them to do the contest again. And then Applejack pusses out and won't choose a winner. They all deserve to win. So what the hell was the point of that?
Go here, Inky Roses will go
That's
there,
bullshit that
and
everyone
Starstreak's
should win.
there.
Sorry, but I couldn't
Believe
pick
me,
just
I'm
one.
a big
They all
loser,
did great,
but
and in
even
my
I know
opinion, they
you
all
have to
deserve to
lose
win.
sometimes.
And I agree.
Someone's got to lose, because then winning is meaningless. So the fact at the end that they wouldn't choose a winner made this the worst episode I've seen in years. Now, before any of you jump on me about this, this was just my bottom 5 list. For the most part, I thought this was the best season we've ever had. And my top 10 list is coming up next. These were just the episodes I couldn't stand this season. There were a few others that I didn't care for, but these were the ones that really ticked me off. Anyway, I'm sorry this list was so long, and I kind of ranted a little bit. So I want to thank anyone that actually watched this, and Season 8 will be coming up pretty soon, so I hope to see you then. Bye.